You want me scared, you want me weak, you want me brain dead and asleep. You want us trapped while you all laugh behind the scenes. You want us sick, you think we're dumb. You want us blind and you want us drugged. You want us poor while you get more of everything. But you don't get to tell me what to think and what to do. No, you don't get to tell me what is true. You're just liars, cheats, and crooks. Change the rules and you burn the books. And so I don't believe a single word you say. You're all liars, fakes, and cons. Want you out and we want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away. You want us tricked, you want us numb. You want us scared and you want us stung. You want us shot and you want us bought in every way. You want our minds, you want our time. You want us framed up in your crime. I hope you know that it's time to go and we're taking names. Cause you don't get to tell us what to think and what to do. No, you don't get to tell us what is true. You're just liars, cheats, and crooks. Change the rules and you burn the books. And so we don't believe a single word you say. You're all liars, fakes, and cons. Want you out and we want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away. Cause we see la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies. You don't get to tell us what to think and what to do. You don't get to tell us what to think and what to do. You don't get to tell us what to think and what to do. You're just liars, cheats, and crooks. Change the rules and you burn the books. And so we don't believe a single word you say. You're all liars, fakes, and cons. Want you out and we want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away. Cause we see la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies. Cause we're just liars, cheats, and crooks. Change the rules and burn the books. So we don't believe a single word you say. Want you out and want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away. La 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies. Cause we see la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies. Cause we see la la la.
Now I could fade out. Yes. Fade out so that I don't blast your ears with my voice, my soothing voice. And when I get this intro new, what's the word? Tactic down, what I'll do is I'll find a way to segue in. You have to be able to share more than one screen on Studio. But when I do it, then we will fade into the otherwise what would be intro video. We're going to start with, that song is 5 times August, Lies, Cheats, and Thieves. I think if you put in Lies 5 times August, you're going to get it on YouTube. It's on Apple. Make it number 1. It's amazing. And we'll be starting every show with that now. It's the good theme intro. And then we start with the good stuff. And then I'll just go back to some standard intro rant stuff so that we can enjoy. The Meltdown, by the way, is glorious. It's glorious. We're going to focus a little bit on that. We have some real news. Alex Jones, apparently InfoWars the assets bought out by The Onion and the families of the plaintiffs in the defamation cases against Alex Jones. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, bought the assets of InfoWars, and now Alex has got to start apparently from scratch from a new name, new platform, new studio, whatever, because they bought the assets. We're going to get to that. But first, we must behold the Joy Reid having a totally normal day in liberal meltdown town. Wrong one. Here we go. Forget, I'm just going to play it. Listen to this. Nutcases. Absolute.
Hey guys, so today I finally did something I've been meaning to do for a while.
I'm going to tell you something. When people talk like that, like they can't get the voices, it's not asthma, it's not a vocal disorder. It's that they're actually ashamed of themselves and they cannot say it with pride. You're happy. I don't care if you're in your freaking medical closet. Say it with pride, Joy Reid. You're leaving Twitter because you are a flipping coward. Let's hear it.
Hey guys, so today I finally did something I've been meaning to do for a while. And the reason for doing it, and kissing goodbye my 1.9 million followers over there, is because...
Do you not notice how they are all obsessed with number 1.9 million followers? It's such a sacrifice, Joy. You are the next saint who is martyring herself by sacrificing her 1.9 million followers on Twitter. I don't know what your engagement looked like. I don't even care. This thought process that they are so important because of all their millions of followers, when they spew rubbish, half of them have to be rubbernecking at the car wreck that is Joy Reid.
Because I hadn't been posting for a long time. I just didn't want to contribute content once it was purchased by its present owner. But
they can't say his name because they refuse. They think it's the biggest insult when you don't use someone's name because they take it as the biggest insult if they get, quote, misgendered. As in if a boy gets called a boy, a he, and the person, he thinks that she's a she or whatever, and you misgender them, to them, it's like it's violence. I mean, it's not silence is violence. It's words or sticks and stones can break my bones, but misgendering is literally a Holocaust. I mean, this is in their minds that it's the utmost of insults to not say Elon Musk's name. Hey, Joy, FYI, your content is all over Twitter, whether you like it or not, because people like laughing at stupidity.
Just having it there, I was only holding on to it because I, really didn't want someone trying to take over that name and using it for nefarious purposes.
Nefarious. People are going to make fun of you, Joy, whether they get Joy Reid or Joy Reid is a dumbass at Twitter.
I was a little bit worried about that.
But no.
And also every so often I would use it to just sort of look at news that was trending and what's happening. And I would just sort of use it as an aggregator, but I just realized that's not really worth it because in order to do the news aggregation and just look at all,
I have to see things that I don't like that make me unhappy.
To wade through a lot of dreck and a lot of just abuse and a lot of just negativity, and it's just not worth it.
Okay, now just first things first, I'm trying to identify where she is. Is she in the storage closet at the View? There's a magazine behind her. Oh, these are books. This is not supply material. She's she must have after, I don't know, this might be at the View Studios, gone into the closet room and had a nice good cry as she decides to say goodbye to her 1.9 million followers because she can't stand the dreck. Dumbass Joy, if you were watching Twitter or Rumble, the dreck might have prepared you for reality. They're like children. They're like mentally deficient children. I mean, all children, I guess, to some extent, are mentally deficient because they haven't yet developed the brains of an adult. Lunatics, superficial lunatics, infatuated with numbers. Kamala Harris talked about how Trump was infatuated with numbers more than Trump talked about his numbers. Whew. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So let me just make sure we're all good everywhere. I'm late. Did he say anything about Robert? I did not say anything. Spirit of 1776 yet. No, I'm waiting for news. Fingers crossed. I don't want to get anybody too hopeful that Robert should get out of the hospital today if things go properly. But I have no news just yet. So, and in that sense, no news is good news. I mean, not that it's ever good news to be in a flipping hospital for a week. It's the worst thing on earth. But there's another person also, thoughts and prayers for Robert, and I know that he appreciates them, and I've been relaying them. And apparently Dennis Prager from PragerU also had a serious accident and is in a bad state at a hospital. And I know that family and that enterprise is also amenable to prayers because it is positive energy that I do believe exists. So no news yet, but I'll give you the news as soon as I have it. The schedule for the day, I think Phil Holloway is going to pop on at 1:10, give or take. And we're going to talk about everything. And then Owen Shroyer is coming on at 2 o'clock. I started a little late because I didn't want to get started at 12:30 and then, just sit here twiddling my thumbs and waiting for Owen Shroyer to come in. So I don't want to have too much time to fill until Owen Shroyer gets in to talk about what's going on at InfoWars. We're going to cover everything in that because it goes back to the bankruptcy, it goes back to the chicanery, and it goes back to the strategy. The Onion bought them out. We'll get there, and we're going to go over the meltdowns, and we're going to cover a little bit of Canadian news. But before we even get anywhere of that nature, people, we've got to thank our two sponsors for today's show. By the way, that's me without a shirt on. I'm not even sure if it is. I think he's a lot bigger than me, but nobody measures muscle. Okay, hold on one second. Now I got my computer. And by the way, I still haven't been able to get a new computer. That is on the to-do list for today because I think this computer has reached its useful life, but it's quite close. As can be seen by the spinning wheel of death that I'm getting for no good reason. But I was going to get one yesterday after the episode of The Unusual Suspects, but was not back in time. Well, let's just wait for this. There we go. Now I can see something. There we go. Here we go. People, first of all, okay, we all have to recognize that we are indeed living in a new realm of tyranny, medical tyranny, as far as we all know it. The largest pharmaceutical companies in the nation are taking aim at a new supplement to take it away from you. Its letters are NMN, November, Mama, November. They want to turn NMN into the first prescription anti-aging drug, monopolizing the market and ramping up the prices. And the reason is simple. It's because M&M has been shown to work in studies. A recent Harvard study, which you can check out here in the link, showed that NMN can reduce weight, cholesterol, and even blood pressure in overweight adults. The thing has been dubbed the limitless pill. Some have called it the fountain of youth in a bottle. Just last week, Black Forest, alongside Natural Product Association, sued the FDA for trying to take away this supplement from the American people. So arm yourself with knowledge, stock up on NMN, and let's tell them that they cannot control everything, people. I don't promote many people. These guys are fighters standing up for what's right. I asked them if they could offer a special deal to our audience, and they agreed to an amazing buy two, get one free 48-hour deal. It's an amazing opportunity to stock up on. Go to the link in the description below. Try NMN, anti-aging, and NAD. Buy two, get one free 48-hour promo. blackforest.com/fry. Let me just make sure I got the... it's /Fry. FREI, which is the first four letters of my last name. Yeah, I could be the guy on that. I could be that guy on that. But I choose to have less muscle mass because it's less to carry around with you on a daily basis. Muscle's not free, people. And by the way, outside the body and inside the body, second sponsor of the show. Speaking of digestive issues, this is caused by a potential toxin that's in all of our healthy foods that scientists have been telling us to eat with the fraudulent food pyramid for the longest time. Does everybody remember? Like, I'm old enough to remember the food pyramid. Eat your breads. I think that was at the top of the food pyramid. The potential toxin causes digestive issues, according to Dr. Gundry, a world-renowned cardiologist that is affecting millions of people nationwide. Warning signs include weight gain, fatigue, digestive discomfort, stiff joints, and skin problems. Dr. Gundry explains these side effects are often mistaken for, quote, normal signs of aging, and it's actually far from the case. I can assure you that the damage is probably caused by these, quote, healthy foods, and it's far from normal. The good news, you can easily fix these problems by going over to gutcleanseprotocol.com/Viva. Watch the video. It'll tell you which foods are healthy, which foods are not. And I have actually watched it. The Sugar Crisp apple. I just had an apple before, and it was sort of not quite Sugar Crisp, but not quite crab apple. It tells you the good things, the bad things that you're eating that you think might be healthy. And the good news is, not to spoil the video, avocado is good. gutcleanseprotocol.com/Viva. Click on the link in the description below and watch the video for yourselves. All right, people. What do we start with? We might have to start with just some Canadian news because we cannot ignore what is going on in Canada. While they have their McCarthy-esque show parliamentary hearings to go after the Lauren Chens of the world. By the way, I did notice there was a typo in the video. It was Lauren Chen, not Lauren Chen. While they have their parliamentary kangaroo court hearings to go after the Lauren Chens of the world for the Russia disinformation, which is going to be a theme that you're going to notice throughout today's show. They have their own freaking problems with actual foreign interference in the government. Chinese infiltration, Chinese Communist Party infiltration, Indian government infiltration and Indian terrorist infiltration, which has been plaguing Canada. And if you haven't heard about this, it'll blow your freaking mind. I've got my mole up in Canada. He's not a mole. It's Chet Chisholm. He's a very good friend, and he sends me a lot of good news. Good news. The interesting news coming out of Canada, so that I don't fall too far out of touch with my home and native land. This is from CTV News, government state propaganda. India's, quote, most wanted terrorist, end quote, arrested in Canada. One of India's most wanted terrorists has been arrested and charged in connection with a recent alleged shooting in Ontario. Can you appreciate everything that's wrong with this? How did they get here? How did they get a gun? And what the hell is going on in Canada? Arshdeep Singh Gill is known on the streets of India by the alias Arsh Dalla, a name that in recent years has become synonymous with the violence in India. Dalla has lived in Canada for several years, according to multiple media reports in India. He's also a known associate of Hardeep Nijar, the Sikh separatist activist who's involved with the Khalistani movement, which calls for an independent Sikh state. The Trudeau government believes that Nijar was murdered in British Columbia by agents of the Indian government. This is just all cool stuff happening on the land of Canada. Who the hell would have known that when you have your open borders with just open to the world, infiltration by foreign governments, who would have thought that shit actually follows? Speaking to CTV News, Ritesh, nobody's going to care about this, but just understand what's going up in Canada, and understand that at some point it might actually become a national security threat to America. A well-connected independent journalist in India says Dalla is a very prominent player as far as organized crime in the north state of Punjab. In late October, police in Halton, Ontario, posted a press release alleging that 2 men involved in a shooting in Milton, Ontario, had been charged with discharging a firearm with intent shortly after they arrived at a hospital in Guelph because one of them had been shot. While the press neglected to share the names of those charged, it's amazing, eh? They hide it for a long enough time, and then once it finally gets leaked, it's too far for anybody to care. Democracy dies in darkness, so does justice.
Well, last September, the Prime Minister and
I hear that. A CTV News investigation has uncovered that Dalla is in fact one of the 2 people charged, and that Dalla has been in custody in Canada awaiting a decision on his request for bail since his arrest. We don't need to get into the rest of this. This all comes on heightened diplomatic tensions between Canada and India just weeks ago following an RCMP investigation that is alleged to have uncovered a targeted campaign against Canadian citizens. The Canadian government expelled 6 Indian diplomats and consular officials out of the country. In response, India sent 6 Canadian diplomats in that country packing. This is what's going on in Canada, people. I think I hear not Dr. Phil, but Lawyer Phil in the backdrop. Phil, whenever you see it, come on in. This is what's going on in Canada. Friday, I'm going to have on David Crichton, who's a journalist with the Post Millennial up in Canada talking about it. And on Monday, I'm going to have Mocha Bezigran. And if you don't know who either of them are, I feel actually morally remiss that I don't have their profiles up. Mocha Bezigran, it's a tough name to spell, Mocha, and David Crichton, Krayden. Check him out on Twitter. Phil, we haven't seen each other since the axis of the Earth shifted back to normalcy. How goes it, sir?
Well, I mean, look, we're at least in the same time zone, so at least we were celebrating together. It's I don't see you guys in person enough. We need to do more of these get-togethers than we've done. Maybe you guys maybe everybody could sort of gravitate towards Atlanta somewhere near where I'm at sometime soon.
Dude, well, maybe we gravitate towards DC for like January 20th. that would be one hell of a meet and greet with.
Oh yeah,
meet and greet.
It'll be a madhouse up there. You know it will.
Yeah, no, I don't like that. I don't like crowds to that extent, and certainly there's going to be some diverging factions of that crowd. But Phil, how has been everything since the election? And what's been? I haven't even talked to you about what's been your level of elation.
Believe it or not, the state of Georgia did not crumble into the mantle of the earth. We didn't fall in the sea. The sky has not fallen, and life carries on. We've got some legal things going on involving the now president-elect. We've got the oral argument with the the Fani Willis RICO indictment. The oral argument in the Court of Appeals is set for, I think, the 5th of December. I really think that the Court of Appeals is going to toss her off that case. So that may resolve itself. So, we're still following a lot of Trump-related issues here on the legal front.
Let me see that. So Fannie Willis was reelected, which is
Yeah.
amazing. What was the margin? I'm going to pull that up. Fannie Willis.
Okay, so her challenger she had a Republican challenger, a friend of mine named Courtney Kramer. Courtney, I ran into Courtney and her boyfriend a couple days after the election, and she tells me that she had like 31% of the vote in Fulton County. Donald Trump had 27%. So there's some bipartisan, I guess, support for Courtney, but there's also a brewing issue that and I know it's not going to be enough to overturn the results, but there's some shenanigans we think going on with that Fulton DA's race. Courtney's name was apparently left off the ballot in certain precincts, and I'm trying to get more information on that now, but that's what's brewing. It's in terms of like a little election controversy here.
Well, so hold on. She outperformed Trump himself in Fulton County.
And Trump outperformed himself 4 years ago by a couple of percentage points or so. So, I mean, look, when you go if Trump is at 27% and she's at 31, that's not insignificant. That's a lot. So that means there's a lot of folks who voted, say, for Harris, but also voted for the Republican challenger for district attorney.
So where does she pick up the numbers to win this? I'm trying to find a graph, but I can't seem to find one. Like, what did she end up winning with? Was it 51-49, or was it sort of a bigger margin?
Oh, Willis? No. So Courtney only had 31-ish. So it was roughly, 69% of the vote. Look, Fulton County is deep, deep, deep blue. I don't know that there's ever been I think the last maybe Republican DA was maybe in the 70s. But the Fulton County government itself is deeply the Democrats are deeply entrenched, shall we say, in all levels of government. There's a few Republicans scattered here and there, perhaps, judges that get appointed by a Republican governor. They're technically nonpartisan, but it's few and far between. And so it's very, very difficult for a Republican to get in. Interestingly enough, over in the Athens, Clark County, where the University of Georgia is, there was a Soros DA over there who lost. Okay. And this is the same DA's office that's at least nominally in charge of the Laken Riley murder trial. That's now a bench trial. But the DA there, she lost overwhelmingly to a write-in candidate. Okay. There was no Republican challenger. This guy mounted a write-in, challenge to her, and he unseated her with something like 70% of the vote as a write-in. That's how much she was disliked by the deep blue voters of Athens, Clark County. But of course, that judicial circuit also includes Oconee County, which is next door, and it's bright, bright red. But nevertheless, the Soros DA from Athens, Clark County is out. New guy coming in. But unfortunately, the outgoing DA, her election not to pursue the death penalty against Jose Ibarra in the Lake and Raleigh case, that stands.
Okay, and I'm an idiot because although your friend, I forget her name now, outperformed Trump in Fulton County, the numbers were only in Fulton County for
correct
Fannie Willis and not all of Georgia.
Correct.
So Fannie Willis gets elected for another 4 years is the next term.
Right.
The case. What's the name of the judge now? The first instance judge who didn't come to the decision he should have. Jeez Louise, I'm pointing. Too many names.
Why do you ask me these hard questions when I haven't had lunch yet?
No, but I should be Googling it instead of this. No, so the judge who did not disqualify Fannie, and it drives me nuts that I can't remember the judge's name.
I'm looking in the chat. I know somebody's going to come up with it before I.
No, it's not. His name is not Sega Genesis. That's a joke. Someone else said I have a Sega Genesis. Doesn't matter. We'll get there in a second. So to refresh everybody's memory,
Judge McAfee
did not disqualify her. That's currently going to appeal. Absolutely should have, and I still think she will get. Her office will get disqualified on appeal, which will have no impact on her 4 years, her 4-year reelection.
That's right.
The only thing that would have an impact on that is whether or not she's sanctioned and removed from office through some sort of other proceeding.
Yeah, she's not going to get removed from office except by the voters. That's the only way really to get rid of, unless she was somehow indicted for some kind of felony and then the governor could remove her. We don't have any ability to recall elected officials in Georgia. It's not like in Florida where the governor can yank DAs out of their post when they don't do their job or whatever. The governor here has no role in this. And so it's basically, unless she gets indicted for a felony, she's going to be in office until the voters decide they don't want her anymore, or she decides to do something else. Honestly, I thought she had her eyes on DC in the event of a Harris win, but I guess those dreams went up in smoke.
Well, and I would say, if she gets indicted on RICO charges for conspiracy to violate civil rights, but to apply the same argument to her as to Trump, she got reelected in full awareness of fact that she's a corrupt hack who sleeps around with, hires her friends. And if that's what they want, can't come in afterwards and defy the will of the people unless she absolutely breaks the law anew.
Well, the interesting thing about this indictment, and I was, Ashley Merchant is one of my best lawyer friends. She and her husband, John, both are great lawyers, and they're both, working on this case. Ashley's the one who everybody thinks of, but John, her husband and law partner, is also very much involved in this case. And she's like the Aaron Brockovich of this whole thing. She and I were talking recently. In fact, just last weekend, we were at a seminar, and the oral argument, I think, is coming up. And if they win, if Ashley and crew win, then all the defendants win, and Willis is tossed off the case. But Willis could then appeal to the Georgia Supreme Court. Now, that would be a discretionary appeal, so they don't have to take it. On the other hand, if it goes the other way, and let's say Willis wins at the Court of Appeals, which I think is very unlikely, but if she wins, then Ashley and company can file a discretionary appeal. And I think that if this case, look, I think my prediction is this: if Ashley and them lose, the Georgia Supreme Court will take it, because I feel very confident the Georgia Supreme Court would toss Willis. But if Willis loses at the Court of Appeals level and then appeals, I think that the Georgia Supreme Court says, no, we're not going to hear your appeal. And that, of course, would kill the case. One way or another, I think she's gone, and it's going to be an indictment without a prosecutor. And then the prosecuting attorneys council of Georgia has to decide, are you going to find another prosecutor that wants to take this up? And the answer to that is hell no. There's no DA wants this.
Well, but at that point, because there would still be the precedent of not prosecuting a sitting president. So even if they this is one question I had as relates to Merchant in New York. Let's see, maybe Leticia James, the protocol of not prosecuting or not going after a sitting president. The charges have already been brought, so it wouldn't be a question of bringing them against a sitting president, but they would have to pause them until Trump is out of office, right? Even if it's not dismissed.
Well, so the Justice Department on the federal level has that policy, and that's why Jack Smith is pulling the plug on everything. That policy doesn't exist in the Fulton County DA's office. However, I cannot foresee a trial judge in the Fulton County Superior Court bringing a case to trial involving a sitting president. But you got to remember, though, look, I guess it's not beyond the realm of possibility. Judge McAfee has already kind of signaled that he's going to break this case up and have multiple trials instead of trying to do all the defendants at once. So theoretically, he could take 3 or 4 or 5 of the defendants that aren't the president of the United States, try them again, but I think that's also very unlikely. It's theoretically possible, but hey, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. The Georgia intrigue is not over. It's less palpable than it was, say, 7, 8, 9 months ago, but it's not over yet.
Hold on, now you're actually pointing to a distinction that I sort of glossed over. It's a federal policy of not going after the president, and there's no equivalent state policy. Is there not jurisprudential precedent? Because I'm trying to think of what happened with Clinton, albeit it was a civil suit. Do they not suspend civil suits during the presidency?
I'd have to look that up. Suspending the case. Yeah. I mean, there's no rule of law that says it has to be suspended. There's no rule of law that says that, the state can't prosecute a sitting president. There's a good argument for removing it to federal court. But look, it's a practical issue. As a practical matter, no judge in their right mind will even try to pull that off because of the logistics. So I don't know of any precedent for it. Honestly, I don't like that in New York, the case is still kind of hanging out there in limbo. I would have rather had asked Merchant to rule on the issue of immunity. And look, maybe Merchant decides to do the smart and wise thing for once and says, okay, I'm going to use this as my off ramp to get rid of this thing. Now that he's president, whatever, the whole lawfare did not work. We're going to go ahead and just pull the plug on it. He could have granted the motion to dismiss on immunity, and that would have been the end of that case. I would have wanted him to at least rule to see if he was going to go that way. And if he ruled against me, if I'm representing Trump, then I take it up on appeal and then we suspend thing. I just don't think it's a good thing to have an open case pending, hanging over his head that way.
It's amazing. So the oral arguments in Fani Willis's appeal of her non-disqualification starts when now?
December the 5th.
December. And it's going to be broadcast.
Yeah, I'm doing it on my channel, Inside the Law. I'm sure others will as well.
This is good. I mean, we'll see. We'll do some. Well, there will be some overlap, but yeah, I think. Dude, this is the saga that we're going to be all following. Okay, so that's good. That's out of Georgia. Fani Willis reelected, appeals. So how many days? I don't want to ask you details that you might not have offhand. How long is it supposed to last? And then after that, it's going to be months until you get a written judgment.
How long will the oral argument last?
Yeah.
Oh, it's I forget how much time they give the parties, but it may be an hour. So it'll be over. I think it starts in the morning. It'll be done.
Oh, so like a day. It's not a drawn out judicial saga.
No, most of this has been done on pleadings, the written pleadings, and the oral argument. I think a couple of the lawyers, I think Ashley and probably Steve Sadow, John, that's Donald Trump's lawyer. I think those will probably be the two arguing, splitting their time, and then of course Willis, her appellate team gets to argue as well. But oral arguments just are sort of the icing on the cake. Most of the meat and potatoes of these appeals is done in the written briefs, and so that will happen, and then we'll get an opinion. It could be pretty quick, or it could be a month or two before we get an opinion out of the Court of Appeals. Have
any written briefs been submitted yet? Are they submitted in advance, or do they plead and then submit them afterwards?
Yeah, I would be shocked if they haven't already finished briefing everything. They have a scheduling order like most appeals do, where briefs are due and where responsive reply briefs may be due. I don't know that information off the top of my head what the deadlines were, but I'm sure it's already been briefed.
Yes.
There may be some supplement, and there's the other thing is there's what we call amicus briefs, where the so-called friend of the court briefs, where outside third parties weigh in and ask the court to support one side or another. There's a lot of those in the case, just like there's a lot of those in the Florida documents case that was tossed by Judge Cannon that's now up on appeal. I was looking at Jack Smith's petition to suspend, that appeal for the time being. That was filed like yesterday.
Yeah.
And there was a notice of interested parties, and it had a long laundry list of maybe a dozen or more what we call interested parties, which are outside entities that have filed amicus briefs in that as well. So a lot of stuff going on.
No, it's wild. It's wild. Who's filing an amicus in the Fulton County, the Fani Willis case?
I'd have to look. Jay Sekulow, his outfit, I know, has filed one. They filed one, I think, with the trial court, and I feel confident that they have filed it as well in the appeal. I'd have to look and see, to be honest with you, but I know that there's 3 or 4 or 5 at least outside groups. There's even some that are supporting Willis, by the way.
Well, I can imagine they have to think of what the interest of an amicus would be in that particular case. Some would be protecting their own ass corruption, and then others would be, I don't know who else would have an adversarial interest or a question to be answered. The documents case out of Florida, you can clearly appreciate who else would have an interest in that, because there are other defendants who are there. Well, actually, now that I say that, in the Florida case,
yeah,
there's other parties who. Fantastic. Okay, hold on. Jack Smith it looks like he's going to be stepping down before the transition into office of the Trump team, and he's just going to disappear into the night.
Right to a set on MSNBC as a contributor.
Yeah, or to Eastern Europe, where he can go and partake in his whatever blackmail, extortion, corruption scheme he had going before he was tapped as Citizen Smith. New York. Juan Marchand. So I talked about it briefly. I don't even remember what day it is anymore. Earlier this week, about the pause. There was a delay in the briefings so that the prosecution could respond to Trump's request to, was it to stay everything, given the ruling of the court? And they said they've given an extra week, but Marchand is still expected to rule on any sentencing November 26th. I've set my prediction. How do you see this playing out?
So you wait a minute. You think he's going to do the sentencing this month? Because I thought that was on hold.
No. So what my understanding is that there was a pause on the briefings because I think the prosecution wanted to respond to Trump's request to drop all the charges, and the Judge Marchand granted a bit of a delay, like a week, to the prosecution, but still is expected to render sentencing on the 26th. But my prediction is that he's going to vacate the verdict on November 26th, regardless of what happens.
Well, we'll see who's right. My memory and look, we all have stuff information is just flying all over the place, and it's hard to grasp all of it with any clarity sometimes. But it's my understanding the entire case has been paused for the time being in New York, including the sentencing and including ruling on. It was a motion to dismiss based on presidential immunity. So he had given himself a deadline, a self-imposed deadline Marchand had of the 12th, so 2 days ago. Of course, that's come and gone. The Trump team, it was my understanding, asked him to hit the pause button on all of it. That was more or less unopposed, and the thing is in limbo. Look, I could very well be wrong.
No, it's not a. It will not be discrediting one way or the other. I'm just trying to look here. Sentencing in the case is currently scheduled for November 26th, less than 2 months ahead of Trump's inauguration, but Tuesday's decision could change that. Yada, yada, yada. Prosecutors have argued that the case centers around entirely personal conduct. The evidence. No, so I don't know. We're gonna have to put it to a vote. I think the sentencing is still on. It was a delay as to whether or not he dismisses the case entirely based on Trump's argument to dismiss it. Because of the Supreme Court ruling, prosecution asked for another week delay so that they could reply, which I think he granted. But I think the schedule. Let's go. I'm going to go to locals to see what everybody thinks. If the scheduling is still on for the 26th, I think it is, but I could be wrong. But what do you think is going to happen long term?
Well, long term, I think the case is going to die on the vine. I saw a Fox News report from 2 days ago that just said that the whole thing is paused, and then the browser tab started talking, like making noise in my ears.
The ads on those on the legacy media, when you click on those things, it makes them unwatchable, and it overloads your antiquated computer.
Yeah. So it says extraordinary circumstances. New York judge in Trump case pauses all court deadlines and sentencing. Yeah. The judge overseeing the case granted the request, which issues a stay on all deadlines, including the November 26th sentencing date, to consider the effect of his election as president. Prosecutors asked for the pause, which they said would allow them to better evaluate the impact of Trump's new status as president-elect.
Oh, well, then I think I misunderstood. All right. Well, we'll see what happens with that. Phil, have you been following the appointments coming from Trump?
Who hasn't?
I was the joke is that it's fantasy football, but political, the political iteration of it. There has been no further news today above and beyond. Who was it that called God level trolling? Fetterman.
Yeah.
Matt Gaetz. So you're American. I think everybody understands how this works. Trump will, he'll publicly announce who his appointments are. Then they have to get through Senate confirmation hearings, which, do you know what the time frame for that is? Because I noticed the markets say it has to be done by December 2026. But how long do they have to get through Senate confirmation hearings?
Oh, it's up to the Senate. Sometime and look, traditionally, these confirmations have taken a while. You remember back when Trump was president the first time, there was a long delay, and you had all these holdovers from the Obama administration that were serving as acting cabinet level officials in various departments, including the DOJ, right? Until certain cabinet officials could get in place. So that's entirely up to the Senate and their timeline. There's no constitutional deadline that I'm aware of that says it has to be done in any certain period of time. But look, I am of the belief that, okay, so as far as the Senate goes and the Matt Gaetz thing, look, I think history will decide whether or not he or any of the other nominees for that matter was the right call. I mean, history has already told us that Jeff Sessions was a bad call, right? And others. So history will determine whether these were good or bad picks, each and every one of them. The Senate needs to give deference, however, to any elected president, particularly one that wins as resoundingly as this. The American people have made their voice heard. The Senate needs to be mindful of that. But at the same time, I know a lot of these senators, 2/3 of them aren't going to be up for reelection, for many more years. Trump's only going to be president for 4. They may very well be willing, some of them, to buck him, and it won't take but a handful of senators on the GOP side to torch or sink any nomination.
It's 53-47 senators, Republican, Democrats now, and I think that's the final vote is in, and it's a simple majority to confirm. So that all it would take is. Yeah, it would take 4 because JD would be the vote, the splitter at 50-50.
Yep. I think that's right. Okay. So, I mean, look, I think they ought to give great deference to the sitting president, but the truth of the matter is these are all political animals. They have their own ways and their own ideas about how to do things. I've always said, look, you don't have to like maybe they don't like Gates or any of the other ones personally. Maybe they have a personal dislike for somebody, but that's kind of irrelevant, I think, at this phase. The question is, can the nominee do the job? Are they up to the job they've been nominated for? And that's really the bottom line on it. But unfortunately, we know politics comes in, and I don't know that you're gonna. I really don't think we're going to see the Republicans be entirely united on all of these picks. I think there's probably going to be maybe a fight over this one. I hope there's not a fight. I mean, we don't need to start this next term off with an awful confirmation battle. I mean, we need to hit the ground running, doing other things and not fighting about nominees. So hopefully this will work itself out. We need him to he was kneecapped by the Democrats last time right out of the gate. And, we don't need him to be stumbled by third parties right out of the gate this time either.
I'm trying to see the Senate is 53-47. What's the House now?
They keep plucking nominees from the House, right? Yeah. And Gates has resigned. I mean, 218 is the majority, and I am always mindful. How often do we see a sitting congressperson die in office, become incapacitated or in some way, or maybe get indicted or for other reasons have to vacate a seat? So when you're on that thin of a margin, I personally was uncomfortable seeing the president-elect pluck so many, from a already thin House majority. Maybe somebody's got a plan for some of this, but we can do special elections to replace them, and that's what's going to happen. And they've all been plucked from deep blue districts. So, but until there's a special election, it's an empty seat, right? So, it makes me nervous. That's what I'll just leave it at that.
Now, looking at the camera, by the way, do I look like I have jaundice, or does it just look like the lighting on my camera?
I just think it's lighting thing. I think you look like you're perfectly. Now, I look very pale and white. I got a problem with my lights in here. I don't know what's going on.
No, but I'm looking at mine from my end. Compared to you, I look yellow and jaundice, but I'm not, because I'm looking at my own skin. Phil, so I mean, and other than that, what have you got coming up? What have you got going on, and what's the news on your end?
Well, I'm honestly I'm just looking to enjoy the upcoming holiday season. I think that a lot of us are going into finishing out the rest of the year with a maybe a more sense of peace and being at ease about the future. Had the election, in my view, gone the other way, a lot of us, particularly those of us who run businesses, and we would have been very apprehensive about the future. So, I mean, I think I'm just looking forward right now to getting through the holidays. I'm looking forward to covering a lot of the legal stuff that's on the horizon, including the Trump cases and all that. But, this is just it's almost like we can take a deep breath now and kind of just enjoy the next few months.
Phil, you meant deep red? The chat is saying, not deep blue for the 70s.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I misspeak? Yeah.
Do they not get in the interim? Do they not get the replacement? Not get selected by the? Do I want to say the governor? Do they not?
No, you got to have a special election for House members. Yeah, they can replace they can replace senators, but these require these require special elections. And so
this dude thinks I'm going to get a haircut. L. Pinkston, never. Like with passion, I might get a haircut sooner than later. We'll see. Never. Phil, okay, thank you very much. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over the Alex Jones stuff before Owen Shroyer gets in here. And I'll react to some videos that you might not want to be around for. Phil, where can people find you?
At Phil Holloway ESQ on X, and my Inside the Law is my LawTube streaming show that you of all people and others, Eric and the bunch, helped me get started up earlier this year. I'm over 50,000 subscribers now on that one and growing. I'd like to see the channel continue to grow. So speaking of what I'm going to do the rest of the year, I hope to be doing a lot more streaming and a lot less practicing law.
Well, stay on the right side of the CommieTube political spectrum, and you'll be fine. You get on the outs of it, and Phil, thank you very much, man. It's great, and we'll cross over on December 5th because undoubtedly I will be.
Yep, you bet. Good to see you, buddy. Take care.
Absolutely, have a good one.
Yep.
Now, how do I do this? I go like this, and I'm gonna kick. I feel so bad. Now, look, the second he's gone, I'm not gonna look so yellow by comparison. But hold on, just so you know, it's not jaundice. I'll go from jaundice to, oh my God, people. It's not jaundice. I can tell you why it's not jaundice. No, I can't show you that piece of paper. This one. Okay, here. This is why you know it's not jaundice. That's an absolute white piece of paper. Okay, just turning off the headlights. People, let's get back to where we're at here. Enough of the gaming around. Okay, it's fine. Let me read some of the. Oh, now, hold on. Back pain here. Okay, let me get to some of the Rumble rants and super chats. There was one on CommieTube that says, not a banned account. How is the non-fiduciary sale of InfoWars legal? Not a banned account. You're a smart man. You've been around the channel. I'll get to that in a second because we're going to talk about the fiduciary obligations in theory that a trustee and the attorney should have towards their clients to maximize the payout of a settlement, not to minimize it. RP Game says, Viva, the argument between mass and tone has been going on at least since I was in school sports in the 80s, probably since UG and AG were hunting mammoths. I don't even know who those are. Okay. Who said it looks worse? Okay, forget it. And now if we go over to Rumble, and I see Biltong's in the house, and then we're going to do a little bit of the stuff at Viva Barnes Law. .locals.com, King of Biltong. Add some Biltong to your diet as a high-protein snack alternative, packed with B12, zinc, iron, creatine, and more. Get yourself some at BiltongUSA.com. Viva 10 for 10% off. We have dried fruit, and King of Biltong has a channel. They stream Friday and Sunday, 4 p.m., 3 p.m. Central. Shit talking whilst cooking real food. Follow the channel, Eat at and Anton's. The link is over there. And by the way, people, I went for my first run, my first jog this morning in 4.5 weeks since I partially tore my MCL. And it was slower. I felt like a gimp, but I made it. Now, over on Viva Barnes Law, .locals.com, I hate death, also known as thanatophobia, or that's the fear of death. I hear a lot of talk about hiring a producer. Don't do it. Watching an outdoorsy Jewish man struggle with technology is one of the main reasons we're here. And then we got Prepared Citizen says, what's the result if Matt Gaetz is confirmed as AG and is able to dig through the correspondence between Wills, Wade, and the DOJ and finds adverse evidence against the fat fanny? That's coming from Prepared Citizen. Dude, whoever the AG is going to be doing that. And like, in as much as he's appointed or named Matt Gaetz, the markets don't seem to believe that he's going to get confirmed, and the markets pay out when the person is confirmed. So, whether or not it's Matt Gaetz, who would be, whether or not he's got the most experience, I don't think he's got the most experience. He is an attorney. He doesn't have no experience, but he certainly doesn't have as much experience as Ken Paxton or Bailey out of Missouri, I believe. So markets don't think he's going to get confirmed, and maybe something happens and he doesn't get confirmed, or they pick another one. Whoever it is going to be a badass attorney general, and it's going to be Ken Paxton. Bailey, what's his last name? I'm sorry. Who will be a Trump's attorney general? So you got Matt Gaetz is the front runner. Mike Lee is on the list. Andrew Bailey, Ken Paxton, Jeff Clark is on the list. By the way, I'm looking at this. Jeff has been on the channel. These are all phenomenal choices for attorney general. Some of them might even be from a legal perspective, a better choice than Matt Gaetz. But from a public meltdown, melting your face, godlike troll perspective, Matt Gaetz is the number one. Okay. Let me see if I can find Fetterman's Fetterman God troll. I don't like the gratuitous use of the word, but let's get to it. Let me just make sure that I don't have any chat open. I do not. Okay, here we go. Listen to this. This is Fetterman occasionally speaking the truth. And when he does, he actually makes sense, even if it's only to disclose the surreptitious nature of the mass illegal immigration that they want to then weaponize into changing the nature of states and swing states. Okay, this is what Fetterman has to say about the Matt Gaetz pick. It's classic.
I mean, I would describe it as God tier level trolling to just trigger a full-on China syndrome to own the libs in perpetuity.
Mission accomplished. China syndrome, I think, is the reference to the 1970s movie with Jane Fonda that I've never seen, and I have not yet understood the reference of the China syndrome. I presume it means some form of panic. It's God level trolling, God tier level trolling. But also, it's a big fat middle finger to Matt Gaetz, who has been the victim of the same weaponization of the judicial process to destroy a man as Donald Trump. But whether or not he gets confirmed, all, or at least, a substantial amount of the alternatives are phenomenal. And meltdown, they are causing. Okay, now back to Viva Barnes Law. Encrypta says, I don't think you need a producer. I think you need some assistance to lighten some of the load with help and tech. That's what I want to hear, Encryptus. Okay, I'm actually going to call you this afternoon because I need to know about what to get by way of a new computer. Dread Robert says, I thought till the election, the governor, or in some states, the legislator appoints an acting rep senator. So for Gaetz, Rubio, and Waltz, it would be DeSantis. And for Stefanik, it will be Kathy Hochul. That's what I thought as well. I'm on a very, very sharp learning curve. This is the first time I've been fully engrossed and fully enveloped in the appointment selection process. So I'm on a learning curve. That's what I thought it was as well. And we'll see. Touchwood, Pupukanena Hora, Barnes is back on Sunday night, and I'm going to ask him all of these questions. Then I got Prepared Citizen. We got that, and I Hate Death. We got that too. Okay. There were some meltdowns that I had. I'm leaving this up, by the way, both on CommieTube and Rumble. I would say exceptionally because I want the story of what's happening to InfoWars and Alex Jones to be put on maximum blast. But let's I want to, before we get into the Alex Jones, just a couple of the absolute meltdowns. What were some of the meltdowns we had here? Oh yeah, here's a good meltdown. It's amazing, people. What's amazing actually is you see the people who are melting down, and it's predictive. Like it's predictive in terms of I don't need to look at their profiles to know whether or not they're idiots or whether or not they are partisan hacks. I can read their comments and predictively know it. Listen to this. Rep Abigail Spanberger. Spanberger. It's an unfortunate last name. Writes, this is the third of third. As a member of the House Intelligence Committee, I am deeply concerned about what this nomination portends for our national security. My Republican colleagues with a backbone should speak out. This is in respect of Tulsi Gabbard, but we're going to go to her number one of three, which is where she lost me, and not because I don't care to read. Well, if I didn't bring it up, then it's not going to get here anytime soon. Hold on one second. Spanberger. Oh, yeah, that's right here. Well, I got the 2 of 3 here. You know what? I'm just going to open it up in my Twitter feed. Just stay out of my DMs. Here's the Spanberger's 2 of 3. Look at this. Rep Abigail Spanberger, in her 2 of 3 tweets, says, not only, let's go to the number 1. Rep Abigail Spanberger, as a former CIA case officer. Well, there you have it, people. Say the CIA, have they been up to good? Have they been up to transparency? Have they been up to pro-America first type stuff? No, they're the secret police of the Democrat Party. So as the secret police officer, case officer of the Democrat Party, I saw the men and women of the U.S. intelligence community put their lives on the line every day for this country. And I am appalled. I say I'm appalled for what this portends for democracy at the nomination of Tulsi Gabbard to lead the DNI, Department of National Intelligence. Not only is she ill-prepared and unqualified, but she traffics in conspiracy theories and cozies up to dictators like Bashar al-Assad and Vladimir Putin. That's a effing lie coming from the mouth of Abigail Spanberger, proudly serving Virginia's 7th District in the U.S. House of Representatives, former CIA officer, former federal law enforcement officer, mom of 3. This is 4 years after Hillary Clinton defamed Tulsi Gabbard. I forget why she withdrew the lawsuit. I suspect it had something to do with I don't know if it was immunity. I forget exactly why she dropped the lawsuit. 4 years later, these evil scumbags are still peddling the same defamatory conspiracy theories, whilst accusing the victims of their defamatory conspiracy theories of being the conspiracy theorists. That Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian asset is a conspiracy theory smear. And they continue to push it 4 years later because it still sticks in their minds. There's still people saying that Brian Sicknick was murdered by Trump supporters. The lie lasts longer even after the truth is revealed. And there's another example. Just here, who's another one? Here, we got another one right here. Look at this guy. Congressman Jared Moskowitz. Nominating Tulsi Gabbard to lead our intelligence community is incredibly reckless. Putting someone with known sympathies for foreign adversaries is not putting America's interests first. It's putting our security at risk. Eric Swalwell, bang, bang, fang, fang, Chinese spy, didn't lose security clearance. He's still out there. He's still a member of government. That's fine. The lie that they perpetuated against Tulsi Gabbard still echoes in their brains. And then I had to go see this guy. I said, "Oh, look here, another POS, put on blast. Congressman, you didn't serve in the military." And it doesn't say anything. But you know what does come up? Him making anti-Asian dog eating jokes. Ordinarily, I don't care. You make a dog eating joke. It's cliched humor. But my goodness, they complain about an increase in anti-Asian hate crimes allegedly, while ignoring the demographics that are typically at the base of that statistic. Set that aside. While they spew anti-Asian, by their own standards, hate. Moskowitz posted on X on Monday about a CBS interview with the South Dakota GOP governor, who's facing national scrutiny for an upcoming memoir that discusses her killing of her dog and falsely claims she met North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. The Florida Democrat wrote of Noam, "Why am I getting the feeling that she wanted to eat dog with Kim Jong-un?" Hardy freaking horror. That is both hilarious and original, Moskowitz. Congratulations. Oh, he took it down. They can't even stand by their own stupid jokes. 2 Korean-American Democrat colleagues spoke out after he deleted the off-color attempt to make light of Governor Kristi Noem's contentious dog-killing story. That's Moskowitz. There was an even funnier one of this guy, Moskowitz. You don't hear about them until they open their big mouths and put themselves on blast. Where's the video? Where's the video of him? I had it on the bottom part. Oh, here we go. So someone in the response says, "Imagine being such a joke to your colleagues. You have to pull stunts like wearing a Putin mask to Congress just to get them to acknowledge you." That's Moskowitz in a nutshell. Entirely performative politician, empty suit. And I had to go check it out because I
went from Florida.
I only found the anti-Asian joke. Look at this. Look at this.
And then there's Jared Moskowitz, the congressman from Florida, who's been very critical of the impeachment inquiry. He actually showed up to this hearing today wearing a Vladimir Putin mask. And we're told he may even ask questions while wearing that mask today during this hearing. Moskowitz basically accusing Republicans of doing Russia's bidding as part of this impeachment inquiry. So I'm not sure how much substance we're going to get out of this hearing today, Anna, but certainly a lot of theatrics.
I came to thank James Comer for taking all of our intelligence and using it in the committee. Maybe he can come see the technology in our grocery store.
The congressman has been critical of GOP efforts to remove President Joe Biden from office.
Congressman, I think this behavior is kind of immature.
And then there's Jared Moskowitz.
Don't you think this is kind of immature? They are immature. They're mentally immature, intellectually immature, spiritually immature, morally immature. Did I think I got everything? Oh my goodness. That was one of them. That was a series of some of the meltdowns. But we're going to get into something else before Owen Shroyer gets here. This one. What do we have here? Oh, yes. Let's see. McCabe. Is this McCabe? Yeah, this is McCabe. From Anderson Cooper 360, he will be surrounded. This is what McCabe says of Trump. He will be surrounded by mostly political sycophants who are there to facilitate whatever it is he wants to do. Do you know the funny thing is? I said, this is confession through projection. They're basically describing what they were doing, but it's sort of a little bit the opposite. It's not that Biden was surrounded by sycophants who were there to facilitate whatever Biden wanted to do. He was surrounded by sycophants who were getting Biden to do whatever the sycophants wanted Biden to do. And that's why they like Biden. A useful tool, not a Manchurian candidate quite. And former FBI director, deputy director, and CNN senior law enforcement analyst Andrew McCabe, who belongs in jail, in no hyperbolic, exaggerative terms, belongs in jail. But after he didn't get his Peter Strzok $1.2 million payout, he got a gig on CNN as the law enforcement analyst. Listen to this. On what? Sorry, I should finish that. On what the rule of law could be like. Could look like. I'm not going to pick on a typo. Under Trump's second term. Let's hear it.
Joining now is former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, who was fired hours before his retirement by the president's first attorney general
for being a corrupt criminal.
Lawsuit after alleging the termination was politically motivated. McCabe is also co-host of the Jack podcast, which covers the special counsel prosecutions against Trump now in jeopardy. Andrew, what do you think the rule of law will look like in the second Trump term?
Well, I think we're all going to end up eating each other's
very
faces.
Different, Anderson. And I think that the entire administration of the Justice Department, the leadership in the department, the way they think about their mission, all of these.
Anderson Cooper, another CAA asset. Look at his face. It's going to look very different. It's actually going to look like the rule of law.
Things could be fundamentally changed in ways that we haven't seen since the imposition of the civil service regime so many years ago. I think the chief bellwether, what to look for first in terms of those things, will be whether or not the president goes back to his plans with Schedule F. So basically signing an executive order that would change the nature of all of the high-level and mid-level leadership positions in the department and the FBI to political positions. So,
and he's going to, and he must, because those politicized political positions were responsible for sabotaging and framing the president, the duly elected president in his first term. All of them out, afuera, and then in prisione, if that's how you say it. Afuera. You're gone, you're gone, you're gone. And if you're lucky, you don't end up in jail. What I think is going to end up happening, dude, I will look tremendously smarter than I am if it happens. Biden's going to issue blanket pardons for a lot of these federal agents who are nervous about getting investigated and prosecuted by Trump. I think he's going to do it. But you know what he's worried about? He's worried about them finding out what they actually did. Appreciate it and don't ever forget it. They framed the president with a bullshit Russia collusion hoax that they knew was a lie from day one to undermine his presidency and try to get him impeached. That is the most sinister form of subversion of democracy you can possibly imagine. Almost worse than what they did over in Ukraine in 2014. Overthrowing a duly elected president that they did not like. That's all that they do. And it's gonna be exposed. Whether it's Matt Gaetz, whether it's Bailey, whether it's Paxton, it will be exposed because this 4 years of Trump, he's not up for re-election. But Trumpism will be in 2028, and he's going to follow through with his clear, decisive mandate because it's what the American people want. It's just not what the criminals in charge want. Have I done everything else? I do want to do one more, but people deserve to be put on the utmost of blast. Billy Baldwin's going to get sued for defamation. If he's not, someone is going to overlook this tweet, or it's Billy Baldwin's lucky day. Read this: 7:13 a.m. this morning, November 14 of this 2024 AD, Anno Domini. Trump raped E. Jean Carroll and sexually assaulted many more. Defamation, right there. Oh, I know what Dirty Billy is going to try to wiggle his way out of in this. Trump raped E. Jean Carroll and sexually assaulted many more. Wait, really? What's the what is there any even bastardized judicial process through which some corrupt judge confirmed that? Billy Baldwin, you're going to get sued, Billy. I mean, clip this. Snip this, share this. Billy's going to get sued. Matt Gaetz is under investigation for sexual misconduct. Oh. Lauren Boebert groped a man at Beetlejuice. First of all, if I'm not mistaken, it was kind of the other way around, and it was in the dark. And go to hell, Billy Baldwin. I'd like to see what you do in a theater. I don't want to, actually. At first, I was, Lauren, her issue was denying it as opposed to just owning it. Yeah, the lights were off, you disgusting freaking perverts, and my date was touching my boobies. Ooh, we all used to do that at movie theaters when we were kids. Governments, teenagers. That was like, okay. Government subsidy king Elon Musk will lead government efficiency. Okay. EPA director Lee Zeldin will repeal environmental protections. It snowed in Saudi Arabia last week for the first time in history. Oh, that's global warming. Idiots. Borders are Tom Homan will deport entire families only if they are here illegally. And, it's terrible. Don't break the law and you won't have a problem. Fox News host and Chris Show nationalists. Peter Hegseth will be Secretary of Defense. You own this, MAGA. First of all, I think everybody would agree with the last part of that. They do own this. We do. I can't throw myself in MAGA, but I will for the purposes of this. Yeah, we do own this. But for your editorializing, people, I appreciate the middle finger of Matt Gaetz. Nobody gives a crap about Lauren Boebert having her boobies touched at a movie theater. Elon Musk should lead government efficiency. Government subsidy king. Oh, you're such a moron. Doesn't understand how these partnerships work. Repeal environmental protections might not be that bad of a thing when they're not actually doing anything to protect the environment. Borders will enforce the law, zero tolerance, and it will actually save lives, Billy Baldwin, but you're not interested in that. So, by the way, Billy Baldwin's going to get sued. And I know what he's going to try to do in order to cover his own ace. And he's going to say, well, that Judge Kaplan adjudicated that even though the jury verdict form clearly said the jury did not find that Trump raped E. Jean Carroll. I mean, I know it's hard to read. Did Ms. Carroll prove by a preponderance of the evidence that Mr. Trump raped Ms. Carroll? No. I don't care what that disgusting, corrupt hack of a judge who should be disciplined for what he did, adjudicated by some mental gymnastics, politicized prosecutorial reasoning. Well, yes, the jury found that he didn't rape her, but technically under New York law, that threshold is very high. So we consider colloquially what he did to her to be rape. So it's technically accurate to say that he did rape her. Even the jury specifically found that he did not rape her. You're going to get sued, Billy Baldwin. Billy boy. There's never been a more appropriate time for Billy Boy than that. Oh, that judge should be sanctioned. Judge Kaplan. What was his first name? Lewis Kaplan should be sanctioned. If there was any politician with a little bit of gumption, I don't know what the procedure would be in New York to go after that judge for ethics violations of law. That's a prime judge to make an example of legally and judicially, as is Justice Marchand, corrupt as the day is long, as New York nipple judge Engelron is one as well. Okay, I think that's all I had for the meltdown. Now, before we get into the actual topic of the day, let me see if I haven't missed any super chats, Rumble rants. Let me look up here. We're good. Oh, no, we got one from All Thrust, No Rudder. China Syndrome nuke plant meltdown clear to China. China Syndrome nuke plant meltdown clear to China. Okay, good. All right, now, before Owen Shroyer gets here, he'll be in a few minutes. The news of the day is that we've talked about it at length, that the trustee in bankruptcy wanted to seize the assets and sell them under liquidation in satisfaction of the judgment, the $1.5 billion judgment that the families of the Sandy Hook victims got against Alex Jones for reasons unrelated to the actual atrocity that occurred that day, except they say that, Alex Jones said some things over some years that injured and offended them to the tune of $1.5 billion, except they had to exploit of the law in Connecticut, the unfair business practice, something along those lines. I forget exactly what it was. Bottom line, $1.5 billion judgment against Alex Jones because of things he he said that were largely exaggerated and lies that were said about what Alex Jones did in fact do and did not do in a trial in which he didn't have a hearing. He didn't have a trial. There was no evidence. He was defaulted into a finding of liability on the basis of purported discovery obligations. We don't need to go into any of that. Petitioned into bankruptcy. I'm just trying to remember how much for reparations the victims of the Armenian genocide were trying to demand from. We're trying to demand, I think it was in 3 billion. Hold on a second. It was, I believe they were asking for like $3 billion in reparations for the Armenian genocide. And Alex Jones got an order of 1.5 billion. And now apparently The Onion, right on cue, Owen Shroyer, The Onion has allegedly bought out the assets of InfoWars through the bankruptcy proceedings in the absence of any court order authorizing it, with the backing of the Sandy Hook families. Dude, may I ask where you are?
I am in a undisclosed state.
Well, you're looking good, Owen. You always look good. It's you look younger than ever. I don't know, like undue incarceration might actually take some years off a man who can deal with it. How are you doing in general?
You know, I'm good. We've been through a lot at InfoWars, you know, and so you kind of get used to the beatings that you take. I've taken a lot of beatings over the years. We dealt with a lot over the years, censorship, persecution. So it's, you know, you kind of become a veteran, if you will. You kind of become a veteran, definitely a veteran in the InfoWar, but everything that comes along with it. You know, I've always taken my health very seriously. I was an athlete through and into college. And so it's always been an advantage, I think, when you can maintain good health. It's easier to, you know, kind of maintain stress levels, I think, and it's a good outlet as well. So I've been blessed to kind of always been good with health decisions, and it helps me relieve stress. It's funny. I was at the gym doing some heavy lifting when I got the news, and I immediately went into the studio. So, you know, when I look at everything, you know, I really believe it's all part of God's plan. And, you know, I don't talk too much about my faith or religious beliefs on the air much because, you know, my show is for everybody, and it's not it's not really a religious or spiritual type show. But, you know, I've given the stress and everything up to God a long time ago. I believe it's all part of God's plan, and it's a big relief when you can do that. I think what's really sad about this, because we've been dealing with the terminal illness, the cancer that's wanted to shut down InfoWars and kill InfoWars and Alex Jones for a long time. I think that the story here is how corrupt our justice system is. It shows that, you know, it's the old cliche of show me the man and I'll find the crime. And if they have the desire and at the basic level, if the American left, and that's what we're dealing with, this is the easiest way to put it. If the American left has the desire, and we know they have the will, to shut you down, to imprison you, to take everything that you own, they will do it. And that's the story that everybody needs to learn from this. You know, Alex is still on air right now. You can never replace what they did with InfoWars. I mean, you can never rebuild what Alex built. We'll have to regroup and reshuffle and find the audience and get everything back in line, and that will take time, but we've been through that before as well, dealing with censorship. So really, this is just the latest example, and maybe the greatest example when it comes to free speech, of this is what they will do. They will literally shut down your news network if they don't like what you do. And to juxtapose that with what's going on at CNN and MSNBC right now, that's an organic failure. They failed organically. They failed their audience. They lost their audience. They failed organically because they were no good. We were shut down synthetically. we got brought down with lawfare. And so it's amazing to see that juxtaposition and both things happening at the same time. But no doubt today will be a fateful day in First Amendment history and obviously when it comes to the InfoWars legacy.
Now, I was listening to Alex before going live, which was part of the other reason why I started a bit late, just to see if we could get the facts straight. We've been covering the bankruptcy, the attempt to shut down the InfoWars studio since, where was I? I was on my way to, was in a hotel. I forget where it was, where it happened a few months ago, or at least maybe over the summer. So what happened as a matter of fact? Because they've tried this before. There was the authorization to start selling off the assets, I think, from the judge, which was supposed to take place, give or take, in November. But you had no knowledge of the Onion placing a bid to buy out the assets in bankruptcy, backed by some of the Sandy Hook families, before this happened, or did you?
Well, I want to be careful here, and I've always left this up to Alex to talk about, just because I don't want to get anything wrong, and it's not my story to tell, if you will. You know, it was always my understanding, based off of the legal documents that are publicly available, that they had the online bid, and then that would move into the next phase of maybe more of an official auction. But I guess, you know, the trustees, the whole trustee's job in a case like this is to get the best deal for the plaintiffs. And so that's why they're saying, well, we don't have to necessarily take the highest bidder. And there's a bunch of technicalities, you know, there's a bunch of technicalities and legalese you can get into with that. But I guess whatever the deal that was offered by the Onion was, I guess the trustee said, nothing's going to get better than this. Basically an offer for, I guess, the entire package. Some of the details are still unknown to us. But so I guess it was such a good job, or such a good offer, they just said, okay, we're not going to get better than this. Here you go. And then I guess it was up to the Onion, or whatever the parent company of the Onion was, to say, we want somebody to take custody over InfoWars ASAP. And I guess that's why they decided to come in and essentially shut down whatever was under the umbrella of InfoWars immediately. Now, again, I as far as I can tell, that's all accurate. I don't know. I don't like getting into the legal stuff. I just tell people, go listen to Alex, and he'll tell you the story of what's going on.
No, that is definitely, I mean, it's close enough to my understanding as well. I just didn't know. First of all, in the chat, people are saying, if Jeff Clark, one of the other lawyers here, says if they didn't accept the highest offer, that could be in breach of their fiduciary obligations to get the best deal. This is not a complicated equation. There's a $1.5 billion judgment. What is it likely to get the plaintiffs the most execution of the judgment? Is it selling it at pennies on the dollar, or even allowing InfoWars to continue operating so they could continue making money, so they could continue paying any award that they might ultimately be ordered to pay? The big question is whether or not this even gets overturned in appeal. And then all of this is for naught. Well, tough nuggets, it's already been done, and InfoWars is down. As a matter of fact, the studio is shut and your guys are locked out?
No. As far as I know, I can still, in fact, I plan to go get personal belongings later this afternoon. I can still get access with my key to get in there. What has happened is the technical aspects that allow us to broadcast to Rumble, excuse me, that allow us to broadcast to Rumble, to the InfoWars network, to Band.video, those technical assets have been turned off. Now, I'm not in the tech end of these things, obviously, but so basically whatever switches that they could turn off to shut off Band and anything kind of under that InfoWars proprietary umbrella and the Rumble channel, I guess, they were able to just flip those switches. Now, Alex still has access to his personal social media account. He started other social media accounts. There might be a Rumble channel, but I don't know for sure. I know he's on the AJ network, whatever is under that umbrella. I know the X account, AJ network, is there, and Real Alex Jones is live, as far as I can tell, as well. But I think it was just a couple switches that they have claimed custody over. I mean, you maybe even might know better as far as the legal aspects of this are concerned, of what it takes to get that custody, a judge's orders, or if when the auction is concluded and the trustee basically hands them the deed, essentially it's their house. I don't know the legal aspects.
I would have thought that it required a formal judge's approval before execution. So I would presume either that approval is there, or they're actually doing this in, prior to any written order confirming the transfer of assets. My underlying legal query in all of this, and I think it's the same ones American attorneys with experience are saying, seems to be confirmation that the goal was never to compensate the families for any actual injury. It was to shut Alex Jones down and shut InfoWars down, and to try to prevent him from being able to reestablish under another company name or under another header. Did you hear or read the Onion's explanation as to why they did this?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny, and I'll just say this, and I'll let you get into it. You'll be scooping me here. So it's funny. Is satire on top of satire reality now? Is that what we're dealing with, Viva? Because I don't really. Oh, there's atrazine in the chemicals turning the frogs gay, so that's real. But if the Onion publishes it as satire at their satire website, now it's kind of like two negatives equal a positive, right? So it's like double satire equals reality now. Are they going to try to bring back the failed show that they did years ago? I think it was with Jordan Klepper that lasted like a month. They're trying to fake Alex Jones with a guy. I think it was called like Buck Jones or something like that. So, I mean, I don't know. I haven't read that story. Maybe some of the answers are in there.
Let me bring it up. I won't go through the whole thing, but it's like, you're right. I don't know if it's reality or satire on satire. Here's why I decided to buy InfoWars. And I mean, you'll get the gist of where it's going. I followed this guy and asked him to come on, at some point. His name is Tetrader. Oh, that's such a nomen es omen. Today, we celebrate the new addition of the global tetrahedron LLC family. Let me say, I really do see it as, okay, fine. All told, the decision to acquire InfoWars was an easy one. Founded in 1999 on the heels of the satanic panic and growing steadily ever since, InfoWars has distinguished itself as an invaluable tool for brainwashing and controlling the masses, with a shrewd mix of delusional paranoia and dubious anti-aging nutrition hacks. They strive to make life both scarier and longer for everyone, a commendable goal. They are a true unicorn, capable of simultaneously inspiring public support of billionaires and stoking outrage at an inept federal state that can assassinate JFK but can't put a man on the moon. It goes on like this. And I read it, and I still don't know why they bought it, and I don't know what their plan is, if not just to try to tarnish the brand that is InfoWars, to make it into a not funny satire, so that the memory of the history is somehow tarnished and tainted by the present going forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. People might have to see it in practice to understand exactly what you're saying. Here's a lesser example, and that would be the Drudge Report. Matt Drudge sold the Drudge Report years ago. Many people don't know that, and I think it was more under the table. It wasn't a big public spectacle like what happened with InfoWars, obviously. So they see the Drudge now, and they're like, oh, Drudge sold out. No, I don't think Drudge has nothing to do with it anymore. So, it's kind of a similar situation, I think, where maybe they'll just think that people who don't know what's going on, don't know anything about the sale or the shutdown of InfoWars or the lawsuits, will just see it and just be like, oh, this is InfoWars now, or this is Alex Jones now. They've lost their mind. I mean, look, trying to take this from a neutral perspective, because I would ask myself before, there is no value in InfoWars without Alex Jones.
It's not to say it's worthless. It's what we call an intuiti persona entity. Like if you want a lawyer and you want, let's just say, Norm Pattis, well, not any lawyer is going to be worth what you'd pay for Norm Pattis. InfoWars cannot be separated from Alex Jones. To say it has any value without the principal Alex Jones is to live a lie. I mean, it will be worth zero, but that's the point.
Yeah. And so, look, I'd like to think highly of myself, and I do good work, but I mean, I couldn't make InfoWars live. I could never do what Alex did at InfoWars. So it's like, even if there was some sort of, I'm just saying, even if I was some sort of a left behind on the island, keep it running, it wouldn't work. I wouldn't do it anyway. But you can't do InfoWars without Alex Jones. So heading into this, I'm thinking, well, it's a bit of a paradox, right? Because, and a lot of this comes down to the plaintiffs, and I haven't really, they don't seem to say much at all. So I don't know what, I don't know what's going through their mind or what their involvement in this process is. The lawyers have been very outspoken. I mean, they haven't minced words at all. They've said this is about shutting down InfoWars, which, seems to be an ethical problem. Is this about shutting down InfoWars, or is this about getting the plaintiffs taken care of? They don't really, so that's a whole nother thing. But I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, well, this is a paradox because, again, there is no InfoWars without Alex Jones. You can sell it for, scrap and sell some of the parts inside, and people can repurpose that. And there's, maybe some monetary value there. I'm definitely not 7 figures. I mean, there's expensive studio equipment that you can resell, but it's not probably 7 figures worth. So, okay, there might be some inherent value. Is that your cat? I think he's got his cat, trying to get on the air with him here. Is that what's happening there? Is your cat getting on the air?
It's a dog. She's getting more and more annoying. I have a paralyzed dog, and she whines. And the chat knows it, but I know people can hear it. It sounds like either a kid. It's a paralyzed puzzle.
Yeah, I thought it was a cat that was purring.
A cat. Well, that's the greatest insult of man.
I apologize to your dog. I do. I did not mean to insult your dog. It was just, that's what it sounded like.
Sorry about that. Sorry. What were you saying, Owen, before the dog so rudely interrupted?
So it was just a paradox to me. It was like, how are you going to, there's no value in the InfoWars brand without Alex Jones. There's just not, right? Once Alex is gone, the value is gone. And the only value that's left is the actual, parts.
Yeah, which of the
board,
studio,
the video equipment, whatever. So I'm like, okay, well, this is a paradox. Let's see what the outcome ends up being with this. Well, the funny thing is, and again, I'm like coming to this, remove my bias, just let's say neutral reporting. I guess the Onion is really the only thing that maybe could turn it into something. I mean, really, like, I guess, maybe that's the decision process here. I guess the Onion, a satirical website, is the only thing that can kind of maybe take like the meme power or like the legendary power and kind of rebrand it into something else without Alex, because there's no value. There is no InfoWars. There is no audience without Alex. So, I mean, I don't know if that's the thought process, but I mean, ironically enough, I mean, I guess I can see if anybody can maybe present some sort of media value of InfoWars without Alex, I guess it's the Onion. I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to think it from a neutral perspective.
The best analogy that someone dropped in the chat is it's like Project Veritas, where it's not to undermine anybody else on the team, but okay, Project Veritas, all the donors, they'll follow James O'Keefe, whatever the header is under. As relates to, you are an integral part. Chase Geyser, there's a number of names who people will follow them as well, but they were not the InfoWars. The InfoWars as a brand was Alex Jones. It was not his alter ego, but it was his microphone. I'm trying to think of another website. There was one. Do you remember the website Live Leak?
Yeah,
Live Leak was like,
now we're going back in time.
Yes, Live Leak was like the original awful website on the internet where anything bad, violent, crashes, you would get on Live Leak. And I'd been out of that part of self-torture for a long time. I went back to Live Leak like well later, and it's a different website now, and it's as though almost like they're erasing the history that was Live Leak. People who've seen it now will never know what it was beforehand. And what I think that they're trying to do really is turn the InfoWars prior to this date, if this actually, goes forward, into satire, into parody. And so no one's ever going to look back. No one will even, as a going forward memory, say anything that occurred on InfoWars was actually more accurate than CNN. They'll only regard it as the Onion level parody stupidity, and thus try to erase the history while silencing Alex Jones, because this was never about compensating the families for anything. It was about shutting Alex Jones up. Now, again, I don't think you'll know of this yet, but I'll ask Alex. But my concern is that they're going to go after Alex no matter what he starts to set up and say that he's circumventing, basically surreptitiously, what's the word, like detouring finances or proceeds from InfoWars to another venture. And they're going to try to go after that. I think it's only a matter of time before they do that.
Well, again, I don't want to speak for Alex. I just kind of make it a common policy not to speak for other men. But I will say that I anticipate they'll go after Alex for the rest of his life. I don't think they'll stop. And I'm relatively close with Robert Barnes, who you partner with in media a lot as well, and his law center, the 1776 Law Center, represents me, has represented me in some important cases, and I haven't really talked about it yet much, but they're trying to Alex Jones me in the courtroom right now in a very similar way, and it's the same district, it's the same lawyers, it's the same charges. And so I'm in a legal fight now for my future, but it's the same story. I don't think they'll ever stop the persecution. I don't think they'll ever stop the lawfare. And maybe they've lost the censorship war overall. They've certainly won censorship battles, big ones. But maybe they've lost the censorship war. We're here on Rumble. I have a Rumble channel. Elon Musk purchased X. And so I think maybe they've lost the censorship war. Well, now we have to get to a point where this lawfare war, we have to find a way to turn this around as well. And, I've talked to my lawyer, and I've talked to who works for Bob Barnes, and I've talked to Bob at 1776 Law Center with about some stuff to try to protect me from the lawfare that is probably going to be incoming on me the rest of my life. And there's still some strategies, but I think that this is just the nature right now of what the American left has become. They are leftist activists who are out to seek and destroy their opposition in any way, shape, or form they can. And Alex Jones and InfoWars have always kind of been the first test case to see what works and what doesn't. And since I've been on that ship, I've endured a lot of it as well. And I kind of just through osmosis kind of become test case number 2 in a lot of situations, sometimes number 1 in a lot of situations as well. But as far as Alex's personal stuff, I don't want to, I know that you'll speak to him later and he can maybe give you a better idea of kind of the personal battles that he has. But I would anticipate that they'll never stop coming.
You try to imagine what it would take for them to stop, like a new Trump administration, a new DOJ, but you're talking federal level versus, some of the stuff is state level, and some of the stuff is civil.
You need ethics in the courtroom, Viva. It's a simple concept, but I guess it's hard to execute. You need ethics. I don't know how else to say it. There are unethical individuals involved in the justice system. And I'll just leave it at that for the sake of this conversation. I'll leave it relatively vague. People can see the direction I'm going. But we lack ethics. We lack ethics in the courtroom and in legal proceedings. And that's what leads to this stuff. So disbarment needs to become a regular thing moving forward. And I don't really know the approach. But until unethical people involved in the legal process get punished and disbarred, this is only going to continue. And as long as they can hunt for the judge and hunt for the charge that they know is going to work to destroy their opposition, they're going to keep doing it. They've made that clear. It's happened to multiple people as big as Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Alex Jones and myself and Mayor Rudy Giuliani and Mike Lindell and others. So they've got the tactic figured out. And so until somebody is able to stop this tactic from happening, I don't see it stopping.
And the worst thing in this case, and Alex was mentioning it before, but they shopped for the plaintiffs in this case. It's like this was an intelligence operation that shopped for the plaintiffs and then shopped for the judges and then manipulated the process to default Jones in 2 different states, a literal show trial in Texas, like literally being recorded for a documentary show, and they haven't let up yet. Okay, so the plan right now, Alex has started. It's AJN Live. He's going to start. He'll start from scratch until they can figure this out. But I'm watching the numbers go up in real time. So, and what are you doing right now? Like, where people can still find you at your Twitter handle, but are you going to go over with AJ to the new? Or like, how's it going to work logistically?
Well, I'm going to wait for things to kind of cool off a little bit out of respect for Alex and InfoWars and let him have this moment. without saying too much, I know that Alex can't really hire me right now. And there's been no real official offers, if you will, from the Alex Jones network. And that's fine. I understand that. I'm not pressuring Alex. He's done a lot for me, and I love and respect him for that. My plan is to go independent. This is kind of still an exclusive. And again, out of just the time we're in right now in this window, out of respect for Alex and InfoWars, I'm not going to get too much into it. But my plan is to go independent. I'm going to launch my own news network. Once things kind of cool off with the Alex and InfoWars story in this moment, I'm going to let him have this moment. I'll be making more announcements the rest of this week and into the weekend. And then on Monday, people will have a good idea about what I plan to do in the future. And if people want to support me and they want to help me build this new network, they can go to supportowen.com, supportowen.com. So just to keep it brief, that's my plan. I want to be in the 3 to 6 p.m. Central time slot the rest of my life, literally, like until I'm dead, basically. I want to be on air from 3 to 6 p.m. So I don't anticipate that will be the case the rest of this week. I'm going to be doing a lot of interviews, a lot of media tours, working on some things behind the scenes. And then on Monday, I will be launching my show under a new name, 3 to 6 p.m. Central, at rumble.com/Owen and at Owen Shroyer 1776 on X. I am talking to Alex, about working together in the future, but I'm not expecting anything from him. This is the baby bird leaving the nest, if you will. And so I'm going to wait till things cool down to make my announcements. And then, I'll talk to Alex about what we want to do in the future. But I plan to launch my own network, and I will be broadcasting live under that new network name starting on Monday at 3 p.m. Central at rumble.com/Owen and on X at Owen Shroyer 1776.
Did you actually get Owen as a Rumble channel?
Yeah, I got rumble.com/Owen.
That's good.
It's actually the people at Rumble are so great, and they've done a lot with what they can. It's definitely the top competitor to YouTube. It still has a lot of kinks and a lot of things that I think that they can improve on, and I hope that they will over time. But somebody did have rumble.com/Owen, and I was able to get in touch with some of the Rumble people, and I got one of them on the phone, and they were basically like, "Oh, well, rumble.com/Owen is taken." And I said, "Oh, okay." And it was some nothing channel, right? Somebody just got it and didn't do anything with it. And I said, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "So just go ahead and boot them and give it to me, right?" And they were just like, "Yeah, okay."
So I am sure they had an agreement with someone might have reserved it for you, and I had someone reserve Viva Frei on Truth Social for me. So
well, if it was an unknown savior reserved it for me, and that like I said, somebody got the URL and just did nothing with it. He just saw it, in his database of URL. So when he was like, "Oh, somebody has rumble.com/Owen," I just went there and I saw that nobody was really doing anything with it. It was an empty channel basically. And I just said, "Oh, okay. So just go ahead and give that to me." Right. And there was an aggressive demand. So there was like a 2-second pause of like, damn, that was an aggressive demand to, yeah, okay. So shout out to the people at Rumble.
Amazing. And now, not to get too far into it, if you can give us the overview or like the status of your current legal battles yourself.
So we have begun the process. We want the case dismissed. It should be dismissed, Viva. If you saw this thing, the case against me is so weak. And look,
which case? Just remind everybody, because this is not the Sandy Hook case.
No, I have been charged with defamation in another case, and right now I'm just really hesitant to get into details because look,
you're right.
I'll be honest, and it's more of a strategic thing. I don't live in fear. I don't have fear, but I'm smart and I learn. And so I think there's a lot of corruption involved. And so I'm very careful the way I approach these things. I'm very methodical in the way I approach these things to try to, be the safest and smartest possible. But yeah, it's a completely unrelated defamation case. it is something that happened at InfoWars that really had nothing much to do with me. I just kind of, you might say, was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But it's a defamation case. They've made an outrageous number that they want from me, well above 6 figures. It's in 6-figure range, but it's, you know, it's over just 6 figures. And so they're trying to Alex Jones me. They're trying to Alex Jones me right now. And it is the weakest case you've ever seen. You'd be stunned if you saw what it is. And, you know, depending on how things go in the next stages, we're trying to get the case dismissed right now. But it's the same players. It's literally the same players. It's the same game. And so I'm going to get through the next phase of trying to get this thing dismissed. And if it doesn't get dismissed, then we'll kind of readjust our strategy. And maybe I'll show people what's going on. And maybe I'll show people the strategies and what it is that they're trying to basically take everything. They're trying to take everything from me. That's what they're trying to do. And so if you saw it's like less than 30 seconds. It's insane. And technically nothing I even said was inaccurate. I didn't even say anything wrong. Like I said, it was just a wrong place, wrong time type of thing of something that I didn't have anything to do with. But they got it. They got it into the system and the jurisdiction that they wanted. And so we're trying to have it dismissed right now, and we'll see what happens. It looks like the next shoe to drop in that case will probably be in another month or two.
All right. Well, I might go independently go find some of these proceedings and see if it's something I can analyze.
If something ends up in your email inbox, you know, I don't know what to tell you.
I think I found something as you were talking, Owen. Not from you.
It's in the news. It's in the news.
Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, I know you're friends with Robert Barnes too. It's his 1776 Law Center that has taken up this case. I love the people over there. I love Bob. I love my lawyer, Lexus, who is working on this case directly with me. So, you know, there's public information out there about it. I've just decided not to make a big fuss about it.
Well, it is obviously and undoubtedly the best thing to do, unless you've made the actual strategic decision to wage the war in the court of public opinion. There's a time and a place for that, and it's not every time, all the time, in every case. So
I'm still putting faith in the system, whether that's foolish or not. At this point, I'm putting faith in the system that a judge will see this case and say, this is not just weak, it's completely frivolous and illegitimate. I'm tossing it out. So that's where we hope this is still going.
Owen, thank you incredibly. I say best wishes. It's like the irony is here. They're going to smash InfoWars, and from the fragments are going to grow even bigger trees. I should have a better analogy. They're going to like take the bag and throw it on the ground, and all the seeds are going to spread, and they're going to grow into even bigger, more independent trees. You will succeed wherever you go, period, full stop, because you are in fact awesome. So that's not an encouragement. That's just a matter of fact.
I appreciate that. And I really appreciate you inviting me on to talk about this today. And many times over the years, the conversations that we've had, and I'm sure there will be many more to come.
There will be. I'm going to continue live. I'll text you afterwards. Thank you, Owen, and Godspeed, man.
The next time you see me from this undisclosed location, it will be an entirely different look. And I hope you'll come on as a guest.
1,000% without question.
I love it.
All right, go. I hate this. I say kick you. I'm going to kick you from the stream, Owen, but have a good day. We'll talk soon.
Just boot me out of here.
All right, that is Owen. And everybody, now you know what's going on with InfoWars in a little greater detail. I'm going to play you a couple of clips here and what's going on with Owen at large. Before we go anywhere, let me just catch up on some, see if I missed any super chats over on CommieTube. I saw a blue thing just scroll down, but that might have been an old one. Yeah, the dog left me a treat on the floor. It's very nice. She's a very thoughtful dog. She didn't get quite all the way out before leaving it. That's what the whining might have been about. It wasn't. She had already done it before. I'm going over to Rumble because there was a tipped question here. Hold on, let me bring it up actually. I'm going to revisit the Smith-Mund Act because I remember the first time anyone brought that to my attention, I was so much on a different spectrum of political awareness that I didn't pay much attention to it. Smith-Mund Act of 2012 needs to be #1 priority of the new administration. That was the repealed by Obama that allowed yet again the American government to run propaganda on its citizens. Nothing can be corrected while domestic propaganda is still legal. Propaganda is the #1 tool of all oppressive regimes. It is interesting how they use the propaganda and censorship. Trump is going to be on it. I mean, he's on it. If he follows through on these promises of videos that he's posting out daily, he's on it. Hold on. Oh, yeah, that was a good one. Okay, that was a good one too. And now let me see what's going on in vivabarneslaw.locals.com. There's a link to AJN Live, Alpha Juliet November Live, or also Alex Jones News Live is his new Twitter feed. And as I keep refreshing it, it keeps gaining more and more people. Oh, don't. I just lost the article that I wanted to bring up. Okay. And now in the tipped questions over on Locals, Abraham Rosen says people have constantly proved that they'll see the truth that leftists mock when they try to use satire. I think this will backfire on them. Hold on one second. Let me read that again. People have constantly proved that they'll see the truth that leftists mock when they try to use satire. This will it's going to backfire. Look, Abram, I'm convinced they're just buying it to destroy the legacy. So that whenever anyone talks about InfoWars in 3 years' time, they're going to say, "Oh, you mean the satire site?" And no one's even going to know that it was related to Alex Jones and a website that was more accurate for information than mainstream media. That's all that they're trying to do. The lawyers in this case, going back to the fiduciary obligations, have made it clear all they want to do is shut Alex Jones up and shut Alex Jones down, even if it's to the monetary detriment of the clients they purport to represent. There will be ethics complaints against these lawyers in due time. And the irony might be, I'm not jokingly, that Barnes might be the one representing these plaintiffs against their lawyers who basically just pissed away from what I have no confidential knowledge here. Pissed away what was likely a $50-some-odd million settlement of $10 million a year, give or take something, over the course of several years. Pissed it away. What are they going to get? They're going to get $5 million worth of assets for $1 million? Sell it? Use it? The Onion's going to go into a studio now? Who the hell? Nobody's going to watch that show except for whatever audience they can build on the gag of having bought out Alex Jones's assets. And nobody needs... Alex Jones doesn't need that. You know what Jones needs? Hold on, I'll show you what he needs. This is what Alex Jones needs, people. Let me just make sure there's nothing embarrassing in the background. This is what Alex Jones needs. He needs a plug-in camera and a mic on his computer. He doesn't even need a Shure. And Alex Jones, his popularity is not about his studio. It's not about his video quality, and it's not about the gimmicks. It's about the information, and it's about the man. And that is not going to change wherever he goes. I'm telling you now, though, in as much as some people say it's not possible, they can't do it, it's a First Amendment violation, they are going to argue that he is siphoning or diverting revenue from InfoWars by leaving and starting up on his own. And they're going to try to get an injunction to shut him up at whatever new outlet, whatever new handle, whatever new platform he sets up to exercise his God-given First Amendment rights to speak. They're going to, because that's what they're about. And past is prologue, and that's what they've done in the past. And that's what they're going to try to do in the future. Okay, now, if I want to bring back up the stupid ass article, just to through it all, I just want to get back here. Founded in 99, yada yada. Okay, they can assassinate JFK, but can't put a man on the moon. Yeah, because they're both equally scientifically complex procedures. Through it all, InfoWars has shown an unswerving commitment to manufacturing anger and radicalizing the most vulnerable members of society. Values that resonate deeply with all of us global tetrahedron. Yeah, the ones who've been radicalized, oddly enough, are trying to kill Trump. It's weird. The ones listening to Rachel Maddow and Bernie Sanders and shooting up baseball fields. Those are the ones who have been radicalized, you dumbass. They're not even good at satire. That's why nobody cares. No price would be too high for such a cornucopia of malleable assets and minds. And yet, in a stroke of good fortune, a formidable special interest group outwitted the hapless owner of InfoWars, a forgettable man whose already forgotten name. That's exactly what they're trying to do. And force him to sell it at a steep bargain, less than $1 trillion. Make no mistake, this is a coup for our company and a well-deserved victory for the multinational elites the world over. I'm not even, it's so stupid. But Bruce is welcome to come on my channel and talk about it anytime, an offer which I am certain he will never, ever, ever accept. Everybody, we're going to get ready to go on over to Locals, vivabarneslaw.locals.com. I'm going to give everybody the link here on both. Viva, the text of the Smith-Mundt Act ended up in the NDAA of that year or the next year. Just a heads up, back doorway to get it past Congress. Link to Locals, and that's from Crash Bandit. Link to Locals. Oh, Obama did not repeal the Smith-Mundt Act. He passed it hidden in the NDAA of 20. Let me screen grab all of that. Thank you. My memory on that was very, very very rusty. I'm not your buddy guy, $20 over on CommuTube. I'm sick with pneumonia in the hospital, actually, in ICU. Anyways, try to see if you can coordinate with the Trump White House to maybe hold those individuals accountable for cruel and unusual punishment. All of it was unreasonable. I'm not your buddy guy. I will wishing you specific and immediate speedy recovery. That's not good. You're in the hospital. Pneumonia is not my... I've known a couple of people with what they call walking pneumonia, which is not doesn't land you in the hospital, but it's not good. That's not good. Get better and rest and prayers and energy of just a recovery. Quick. I'm not your buddy guy. That's not good to hear. Anyways, you'll give us an update in the next stream, which will be tomorrow because it's Friday. Tomorrow it'll be later in the day, and it will probably be with David Creighton. I've been told it's Creighton, not Crichton. Who's going to be coming on in the afternoon because I've got another episode of the Unusual Suspects. Let me go here. InfoWars, just to show Viva, the text ended up in the NDAA. So I've got this. I'm going to look into it because it will be worth talking about Sunday. Okay. We're going to go over to, it's going to end it, people. It's going to be for locals, supporters only. If you want to support the work that Robert Barnes and I do at vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Let me see here. Just make sure I'm not getting any text to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. We are good. Okay, we're good. Let me see if I got any updates there. No. And there's a couple of other things we're going to talk about over at vivabarneslaw.locals.com for the after party as relates to Alex Jones and some other stuff. And if you're not coming, I will see you with the Viva short clip this afternoon. I don't know if I'll do it out of my car. I went for a jog. I'm going to try to go for a bike ride this afternoon and just make sure that it has not been a month and a half since I exercised. I've been biking for the last 2.5 weeks and doing push-ups. Biking just doesn't give you the full body workout that jogging gives you. Today I did. It's so terrible. I think it took me 40 some odd minutes to do. How many kilometers did I do? To do my basically 4.5 miles. And I gotta jog like an old man so that I don't turn my ankle or knee in because my knee still hurts where the MCL is. So that's it. That is me, Viva, complaining about my knee. But there are other bigger issues out there. So I will see you at vivabarneslaw.locals.com right now. And if you're not coming, I will see you tomorrow. Share before you head out, by the way, everybody. How many people are watching on Rumble? 7,300 on Rumble. Make sure you hit the thumbs up before you go. And make sure that you have subscribed before you go. You can turn notifications on if you're so inclined. And over on YouTube, let me see something here. YouTube, go hit the thumbs up and make sure that you're subscribed and you have notifications turned on. Thank you all for being here. Heading over to locals only. 30-second count.